Hello and welcome to a brand spanking new Flight Simulator video. Right, I've already done this video. You won't know that because I won't have uploaded that video. This is a tip for you whenever you start your Flight Simulator up. Always check your controls because, well, I found my trim settings were completely wrong and this aircraft did not fly correctly. Right, hopefully we're going to get this all sorted out. Welcome to the JU52, an aircraft I never thought I was quite going to do a video on. I said on the last video, which was the Vulcan Fast Taxi by Just Flight, that I was going to take some time off even between Christmas and New Year from creating Flight Simulator content. I was still using the Flight Simulator, and I found myself flying this aircraft. I was quite impressed by it. And I started taking a few photos, and I put those photos onto a Facebook page, which I believe was something to do with warbirds. And I couldn't believe that lots of other people were enjoying the JU52 or fascinated by the JU52. I had offers of flying online with other fellow JU52 pilots, sim pilots. And I thought to myself, you know something, if people like the aircraft, I'm going to create a video of it. And I thought, well, I can do that next year, early next year, and go from there. I did a second flight in the JU52, and I took some more photos of it, because let's face it, this Flight Simulator is really, really beautiful to look at. And once again, lots of people commented on the photo, commented on the aircraft, and they were intrigued by the JU52. Somebody even subscribed to my YouTube channel. So there's a quick link. If you're not subscribed, please do. I'm not interested in going after all the numbers. I just want to share aircraft and share the Flight Simulator with you, the Flight Simulator experience. Now the advert and the plug is out of the way. Let's go back to what I'm here for. On to you, the JU52. So, it is a unique aircraft. This particular aircraft was part, if I can bring up the page for it, of the Local Legends series. In fact, it was the first of Microsoft Asobo's Local Legends series. Now, if you don't know what the Local Legends series is, every time Asobo release a world update, they release an aircraft. It can be any aircraft. It's something that they coined the term a local legend, and we've had things like the ATR in the past, that little turboprop airliner thing, which I don't think is a particularly local legend, but the Junkers JU52 is most definitely a legend. It is on par even, with the DC-3. In fact, it is pretty much a German version of a DC-3. It is a very early pre-war transportation aircraft for the masses. Nowadays we go on holiday in a 737 or an Airbus of some description or anything like that. Well, this is what people were doing back in the 30s and well, not so much in the 40s, but this aircraft was still in use in the 40s. I'll go on to that in a minute. So, for the facts and specs of this particular aircraft, in reality it had a crew of 2, which, as we can see, that's my plucky pilot sitting there, and a co-pilot that's wondering what the heck he's done to sign up for this privilege. This aircraft could carry 17 passengers. Let me see now. It's power plant, okay, very unique configuration of 3 engines, which makes the JU52 a very unique aircraft. They are BMW 132A-3 9-cylinder air-cooled radial piston engines. Bit of a mouthful. Each engine developing 725 horsepower at takeoff. Okay, so this isn't like, let me see now, a BF109 for instance. It's not a high-powered piston engine, but it is good for an airliner stroke cargo. We have 2 blades, the propellers are 2-bladed variable pitch propellers. Okay, so being that it's a cargo aircraft and an airliner, it's not going to be fast. This particular aircraft could do a maximum speed of 165 miles per hour at sea level, or 172 miles per hour at 3,000 feet. In cruise settings, it would be flying along at 153 miles per hour at 3,000 feet. And its most economical cruise setting would have it at about 130 miles per hour. Range was 620 miles, so it's not a particularly high mileage aircraft. You will be stopping off quite a few times when you're trying to get down to the south of France, for instance. Let me see now. Moving on to its secondary role, because pre-war this was the DC-3 of Germany. This particular repaint I have is a Lufthansa repaint, and it is designed as a transportation aircraft of people. However, the real aircraft did join the war effort for the Germans, and it became a transportation aircraft of German troops, of paratroopers, and it even became a bomber, believe it or not. So in the armament department, it had one 7.92mm MG15 machine gun, which was in a dorsal turret, which I think was somewhere up here, I do believe. We also had one 7.92 MG15 machine gun in a semi-retractable dustbin turret, which I believe was somewhere back here, and it faced down to protect the aircraft's underside. It also could carry 500 kilograms or 1,100 pounds of bombs. So this transportation aircraft that was slow, lumbering, not armour plated, also carried bombs. Obviously, this is Flight Simulator. We don't have to worry about weapons or anything like that. I'll probably go into a discussion about this whole weapons, should they be Microsoft or should they not. Subject that seems to be getting broached quite a few times now. But yes, we have the airliner version. As part of the package, you do have this classic JU52. We have the JU52 on skis, I believe. No, sorry, not skis. Floats, that's it, floats. So it can be on water, which was real, it did happen. And we also have a modernised JU52, so the cockpit, when we go through to it, instead of being the classical cockpit like we will have, it will have a more modernised and understandable cockpit from people of, shall we say, my era a little bit. So, a very unique looking aircraft, I think we can all agree. For those of you that may be wondering what these lines all are, that's corrugated metal. I don't know why Junkers went with this approach. They did this on a few of their aircraft. I don't know whether... I remember some pilots saying it doesn't hurt the aerodynamics, but obviously, you know, it is going the right way for airflow to go down the aircraft. So, yeah, it is a very unique looking aircraft indeed. On the inside, this is, like I say, the classic cockpit setup for a German 1930s aircraft. So it is a little bit different from what we are used to here now in 2023, soon to be 24. Obviously, all the controls are ×3, all the dials are ×3. What you've got is a 3x3 system, as I call it here. So we have the pilot's flight instrumentation, again basic but functional. We have in the center the engine controls, again by 3, and then we have the co-pilot's flight setup, flight instrumentation setup just there. We have magnetos just covered by my wheel, made out of fantastic wood. We have engine start with covers. And then we go into some, obviously we have the throttles, and we have the mixture controls down the bottom here. I'm not going to go too much into the pronunciation of the words because I don't speak German, and the only German I've learned is from Battle of Britain film, so we're not going to mention the war. We do have clickable windows, which I like these kind, where you can just move them exactly where you want. I mean, it's not like you're going to feel the airflow, but I think it's realistic. We have one for the co-pilot should he become very scared. And we also have a sunroof, which, again, functional, I suppose. It does change the sound effects of the aircraft, so we'll hear more of the sounds. The sounds are, they're good. They're not particularly good on startup, I must admit, but they are good and functional for the aircraft. And, you know, for an Azobo aircraft, this isn't a Just Flight aircraft. This isn't a Carenado or any other big manufacturer, A2A, anything like that. If A2A came out with a JU52, it would sound a lot different. But considering that this retails for a lot less than any other aircraft out there on Flight Simulator. I'm very happy with this. So, I just want to check one thing, because when I did this video before, the trim settings were all wrong. I never noticed them, and shall we say, it made for an interesting takeoff. So I don't know why they've done that, but anyway, they should be set neutrally now. So batteries are coming on, all mags are coming on. I'm not going to fly this thing properly because, like I say, I can't speak German and I don't have a checklist for a JU52, so we'll just have to gloss over that part. So mixtures are all coming on to full and backing off a little bit. Throttles are cocked. Whatever these things are have to be down here. The click spots sometimes are interesting, shall we say. So I can actually start the engines via the, I can do it two ways. One is obviously by this way, or I can actually do this by controls I've got bound to my throttle, my Thrustmaster Warthog throttle. So we'll uncage this. So this is engine number 1, and we will check that we are clear on the left side. And we have a good start on engine 1. Engine number 2. Can't really check. So I'll lean out the airport then. Yeah, we can't. We've got nobody in front of us. Let's be honest. It's not real. Not much of the sounds there. I would have expected, with the engine being right smack in front of you, that you'd actually hear this thing. But again, hey ho. So we'll recover that up pump and go for engine number 3. And good start on engine 3. It sounds better from the exterior. That's all I can say. So we do have flap control. These are the flaps. Yes, this is an arcade design. They literally hang off the wings. We have a 3-stage flap position. We won't need, well, really with Waddington's runway, we will not be needing much of any flaps, but always like to put down 1 stage of flap. So as you can see, flaps just started to drop. Lovely heat effects coming out of the exhaust stacks of the aircraft. So we can shut this up now. So today's flight, you might have guessed where we are. We are back at RAF Waddington in Lincolnshire, and we are going to have a little flight around Lincoln. We are going to be departing even runway 20, which is off to our 1 o'clock. Taking a right-hand turn, gaining altitude. We'll be probably somewhere in the region of about 3,000 feet. I think that'll be the maximum altitude we'll get today. We'll be flying out towards Scampton and then back over Lincoln. Back over Lincoln, over the cathedral, and back into RAF Waddington on runway 20. I do like props. I don't care if it's a Warbird or a general aviation aircraft, but I do like to see something spinning in front of me. It just shows you that something's working. Jets are all wonderful, but they're just turning and burning, whereas a prop is something a bit more unique about it. One thing to remember if you do get the JU52 is the turning circle is interesting, shall we say. It is, the undercarriage is way back beneath me, so the nose goes over the turning point where you really thought you should have turned. And the times when I first took this aircraft up, and I was taxiing it I should say, where I missed my turning point and put the aircraft on the grass. Again, using rudder pedals to do the steering. Got some Virpil rudder pedals, absolutely fantastic. Probably the best thing that I ever got for Flight Simulator was rudder pedals. Weirdly, it was the last control surface I ever got. So there we are, parking brake is set. Mixture is full rich. Controls are free. I'm not going to go too much into the controls much, obviously the instrumentation, obviously everything is in German and I don't speak German, so it's going to be a more relaxed flight. So, flaps are one stage, parking brake is set, controls are free and checked. Undercarriage don't have to worry about, that's fixed. So, coming off parking brake, sitting on the wheel brakes, rev it up a little bit, make sure the engines are responsive. And let's roll. Tail automatically up. This aircraft does not take long to get its tail up and then get the rest of the undercarriage up, the rest of the bodywork up. And we are airborne. Like I say, with one stage of flap, we didn't really need the one stage of flap. Here at Waddington, there just is plenty long enough runway. If you ever want an aircraft to just go around low and slow, don't think you can beat the JU52, I really don't. It's a fantastic little aircraft. Well, little, I say little, it's a cargo plane. It is great at low speed handling. You can stall this aircraft, but the stall speed is quite low. So let's have a little hear of what this aircraft sounds like from the outside. It's a lovely aircraft, I really do like this. Bucketing along now at what we're doing, 230 kilometres an hour. Again, the instrumentation in a JU52, period correct, but being that I've, don't deal in kilometres per hour, it is a little bit different for me. I do tend to fly this aircraft more by feel than by actually looking at the books and looking at the numbers. And that's the great thing about this aircraft, it's not an A to A, all-in, all high fidelity, training aircraft or training tool for Flight Simulator. This gives you an essence of what it must have been like to fly in a very unique aircraft. I was thinking before I started doing this video, I've flown a lot of single engine, propeller driven aircraft and jets. I've flown a lot of twins. I've flown a few four-engined aircraft, the Vulcan being named one of them, but I can't remember the last time I flew a three-engined aircraft. It is a very unique configuration. Now, whilst we bucket along now at the JU52's happy speed. I did say that this aircraft has a two-sided life. Before the war it was a airliner. This particular repaint is from Lufthansa. But during the war the Germans pressed it into service as a transportation aircraft, cargo aircraft, paratrooper, deployment aircraft, and also a bomber. And we don't get weapons here on Flight Simulator. Now, I bring this subject up because I have been keeping an eye on various subjects that keep coming up, and I can't remember which aircraft it was, just being released. I want to say it was the F-14 Tomcat. I can't remember. But if you buy an aircraft from the Flight Simulator marketplace, no matter if it is a warplane, it does not come with weapons. And if you buy it from the actual developer and they've programmed it to have weapons or developed it to show the weapons, then you can have the weapons on the wings and the various weights that the weapons weigh, the felt weight on the aircraft. And I was reading comments from this because, like I say, one of the developers kind of booked up with one of their updates and gave a marketplace aircraft the ability to have weapons on its wings. And like I say, I think it was the F-14 Tomcat. Now, this has been sorted out and the weapons have all gone. But I was reading the comments and a lot of people were like, especially with the F-14 being that it is made by a company that released an F-14 Tomcat for DCS, and people were saying, if you want to have weapons, play DCS. There is no other option. And I kind of sort of get that, but it's more if you want to deploy the weapons. Obviously this is Microsoft Flight Simulator, made by Asobo. It is not a combat simulator. For those of you who have very long memories, Microsoft did create a series, a very small series, I think of 3 simulators called Combat Flight Simulator back in the day. And you had the ability to fight aircraft with machine guns, bombs, rockets, all the rest of it, but it was a separate title, a separate series. And I was hearing comments from people saying that they wish their aircraft had the ability to deploy weapons, not just to have them on the wings, but to actually deploy them. And I'm like, I kind of sort of go with the argument then that it's DCS you should be going with. It's just something that keeps popping up. Why does an aircraft have to, not have weapons? I get that you can't have deployable weapons. I don't want to shoot down other aircraft on Microsoft Flight Simulator. If I want to do that, I will run DCS. It's just one of those odd things, and it seemed to be a lot of people were quite, argumentative over it or had their own opinions, which I guess is wonderful. Everyone has an opinion. I won't complete that sentence because YouTube won't help me, won't like me if I start insulting people, but I do believe if your aircraft is a warplane, so it's a P-51 Mustang for instance, you should be able to put bombs, rockets, all the ordnance that a P-51 Mustang could carry on the wings. You can't fire them, you can't drop them, they don't interact with the scenery, you can't shoot people down. But you should be able to look out on the wings and go, well, there's my bombs, there's my machine guns. I do think it's something that Asobo will never ever stop, Microsoft will never ever stop, or change their beliefs on it. But, that's just my 2 thoughts. Obviously we've just flown over RAF Scampton and we are now heading back. The cathedral is literally 12 o'clock of us, just going down the left side of the front engine, or middle engine. And this is what I was doing before I wanted to make a video on this particular aircraft. Just flying around. It is such a lovely, relaxing aircraft. I haven't got much control input, I have a lot of fight in this aircraft. We're nice and level, we're not fast. The JU52 does not go fast, it does not even understand the comprehension of the word fast, but it's just nice, it's relaxing. Could it sound better? It could do. It's not bad. It's what I'd expect for a Microsoft Asobo aircraft. I think it does a good job of the ancient sounds, but obviously it could be better. So currently flying over Lincoln now. This is just one of those great things about this aircraft. You just take things nice and slow. You just want to be sat in the back right now, just looking out the window, looking out over a very unique wing. This is what happens when I drink a lot of booze in between Christmas and New Year. I start waffling. This is such a lovely, lovely aircraft, very unique. So the runway, if you can see through all the brightness, is off to our 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock position now. What we're going to do is we're going to carry on out this position and slowly start doing a descent. And we'll go into a left-hand lazy turn, losing our altitude. We'll then go in over the runway, peel off to the left and enter a landing pattern. Say landing back at runway 20. Obviously, in most aircraft I'll be flying, I would have a GPS. This aircraft doesn't have a GPS. It couldn't even spell the word GPS, which is fine. If you want a GPS, I believe the modernised version has various communication equipment and GPS. Obviously, I can put the V map, the VFC map, or whatever it is, though, but that's Flight Simulator. Don't need to do that. So we're going to fly this aircraft literally hands-on. Keeping an eye on our speed, don't really want to be going much faster than what we're doing now. Runway is in sight. I will say something for this aircraft. When I was first flying it, I was flying one of the repaints that comes with the aircraft. And they all have registrations. This particular aircraft is Delta, Alpha, oh, I don't know the rest of the words. But that one there, Danoi. The aircraft I was flying had a registration, and I don't know whether this is a mistake, but the registration number plate comes back to a helicopter, not a JU52. So I don't know whether that's just a Microsoft stroke Asobo issue. Obviously they're not going to update that, but I thought I'm going to have to get myself a proper repaint, so I went on to flightsim.to and I picked myself one of the few repaints. It's the most downloaded repaint of a JU52, and I believe this one is a museum piece. I don't think it's a live aircraft, but it is, I believe, in Germany. So it is a accurate repoint of a Junkers JU52. The great thing about this aircraft is like it's just everything is so slow, and that's not a bad thing. You have time to think. You have time to work out what you want to do, the next manoeuvre you want to do. You can't roll this aircraft, you can't loop it or anything silly like that. It's just a nice, relaxing way of spending some time on our favourite flight simulator. And there isn't that much really to do. You know, like the A2A aircraft, you're doing a lot of button pressing and setting the aircraft up for landing phase and whatnot. This aircraft, a little bit of trim work, Flaps, yeah, they're there. We'll go down to one stage again. We won't really need it, but it's, yeah, it is a done thing. Undercarriage, you don't have to worry about it, it's fixed. Just take your time and enjoy the flight. I will say TrackIR is pretty much an important part of Flight Simulator. It's allowing me to turn my head round like this so I can keep an eye on where the runway is. Because if you sit back in the correct position, you see that. So your peripheral vision is a little bit bad. But what I will say is the front vision and obviously anything above you is very, very good. That's why the aircraft's in the air. Obviously, when it's on the ground, a little bit different. It is a tail dragger after all. So, throttling back, we'll come down to one stage of flap. Start to retrim the aircraft out as we go into a lazy left-hand turn. A bit high for a landing, I must admit. We seem to have gained altitude in the downwind approach. So even in this little dive, well, I say little dive, it's probably a little bit too much for the JU52, but it's still, it's calm and controlled. So, final check, flaps are one stage gear, not to worry about. Trim set. Fly the aircraft down to the runway. A little bit of dive to the runway, but we're not bad. We've got plenty of length to worry about. Top throttle. Hold it, hold it, hold it. Main wheels down. Not the best landing in the JU52, I will admit that. I have done better. But not bad. Being that I know the taxiways, we are going to turn around here. Obviously not really what you do on a real live runway, but we're just going to lift ourselves up here because I need to see. This is the, I won't say it's an issue of tail draggers because that's the reality. You're dragging your tail along the floor, the nose will stick up in the air. Flaps all being retracted, mixtures coming back. I don't know why this runway here is on the taxiway. I don't know whether it's an issue with my flight simulator or what. There is only technically two runways, but there is only that runway we landed on, not one on the taxiway. So if you are interested in something that obviously came out in the 1930s, something that is rather unique, a 3-engine warbird, check out JU52. It's on the marketplace, I believe. I can't quote you the price, I'll probably get it wrong, but it's not an expensive aircraft. I think I paid about £9, £10 for it. I've had it in the collection for quite a while. I just never really paid too much attention to it because there's always been something, in my eyes, smarter and faster. And to be honest, if you just want a nice, relaxing flight, not having to worry about too many controls, setting up a GTN 750 for instance, you know, the JU52's got you covered. And if you do find that this instrumentation is a little bit more difficult, there is a quote-unquote modernised version of a JU52. And for all the people that are going to say, oh, that's not how it should be, well, there is JU52s that fly even now. Like I say, one used to fly in Flying Legends, and I dare say it has to have correct, up-to-date communications and navigational instrumentation. Parking brake set. Now we'll just turn the mixtures off. Batteries off. Parking brake off. There you go. Finally, the JU52. I hope I have done it a little bit of, done a good video of it. I know that there was a lot of people that were interested in seeing me fly this JU52, and to tell you the truth, it will probably feature in a few more videos in the new year. So, once again, I will say, if it's possible, if you could click that little subscribe button, you know, it helps YouTube, it helps me. I'm not too interested in numbers. I just want to kind of build a community of people that like Flight Simulator, that like aviation, and enjoy this as a hobby and a pastime. So yeah, come the new year, I will be making the usual amount of videos again. I will probably do some live flights. I don't know how I'm going to get this scheduled around my work schedule, but I'm open to the idea of doing live flights. So yeah, I will obviously be posting more content up on the YouTube channel. So I hope you found this video informative, and I shall see you in the future in the virtual skies here on Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 in the future.